you can carpool with him. Elias Mackos is in transit on CJAD 800.
How much have you been spending on gas per liter? What was the cost of your last fill-up? Send me a text at 514-790-0800. I'd love to know. Now, over the weekend in Calgary, one gas station, gas dropped, to get this, under $1, 99.9 cents a liter, at least at one Calgary gas station. Could we ever hope to see that kind of thing in Quebec? I'm looking at the lowest prices right now in and around Montreal, showing up around like $1.46 a liter. Now, last week there was an opportunity from the Quebec government to significantly cut the cost of gas at the pumps in this province by the elimination of the gas tax. But in the economic update, Eric Girard, the finance minister, said, nope, not going to happen. And he said, I heard him on CJAD last week saying that if they did such a measure, they're not convinced it would actually lower the cost of gas. They think retailers would just pocket the tax money and keep the prices elevated. Let's try and get down to the bottom of this with Dan McTeague. He's president at Canadians for Affordable Energy. Hi, Dan. How you doing?
Elias, I'm doing fine. Even on a cold day like today, knowing that I can get my diesel for 40 cents a liter less than Montreal.
Okay, so let's talk about that. The 99.9 cents a liter for gas, or whatever it is for diesel. What explains how much cheaper it is right now in Alberta versus Quebec?
Well, taxes, obviously. They don't have a 12-cent cap and trade. They don't have a 19-cent provincial tax. They don't have a 14.975 HSE, TQS, whatever you call it. They have 5%. All that makes a difference. Now, in the case of this particular gas station, even by their own what's called wholesale price, and taxes thrown in, no gas station could offer fuel for under $1.08 in Calgary yesterday or today without shedding some money. So obviously they were giving 8 or 9 cents out to everybody who came up to the station and got dealer support. Maybe they were trying to discipline one of their big competitors, Costco, who consistently offers the gas prices or gasoline at their cost, which of course is a couple cents less than everyone else because they move a lot of volumes. What's important there is that Costco can make it up with what it sells in the store. It also, of course, has a program where you have to, buy a membership, and that's part of the reason they're able to offset the cost. Nevertheless, you won't see that in Quebec, and you're not going to see much more of it in Alberta unless oil drops $10 a barrel in the near future.
So you've got, obviously, all of those tax implications. There were a lot of people pining for the Quebec government last week in that economic update to give it at least a break or an elimination of the gas tax. Do you buy what the finance minister said? And he said it on CJAD. He said, listen, if we cut that gas tax, the retailers would just pocket the money. They're not convinced that it would end up in the pockets of consumers. Do you buy that?
That's baloney. And I was an MP for 18 years, and I thought the same thing when I wrote my report in 1998. About the retail industry, retail gasoline. No. Right now, your gas stations are offering gasoline with no retail margin, and there's still $1, as you mentioned in the opening, $1.40 to $1.50, $1.44 to $1.52. They can't get around the fact that the provincial government is charging a 12-cent tax, weather tax I call it, but it's a cap and trade tax. It's charging 19, not 9 cents a liter like in Ontario for a provincial side, and it has a much higher ad valorem tax. All those three factors are contributing mightily to the 20-cent minimum difference on gasoline and 40-cent difference on diesel between Ontario and Quebec. So no, those would be passed on in a nanosecond. How do I know? Well, guys like me who been doing gas price prediction probably longer than most of these guys have been around in elementary school. Will know exactly how much people are being ripped off by if they do decide to do that, because I know every element of the breakdown, whether it's the Canadian dollar, how much it is at the New York Harbor, and of course what the cost will be at the pumps, taking into account all of those input costs, which tend to raise or decline the price. Bottom line, it's a provincial government call. They made the bad call, and you in Quebec, I know there's people driving around there and say, well, I don't drive, I take public transit, or I drive an EV, whatever, that's fine. But this cost is going to be passed on. And I don't care who you are, but diesel is the global workhorse when it comes to energy and transportation. It runs your jets, it runs your transportation grid, it runs your agriculture. And the fact that it's so massively distorted from the price for everyone else is charging, whether it be New Brunswick, United States, or Ontario is really a disservice, and it's hurting consumers in Quebec. I think maybe the minister may want to give thought to his excuse, because the excuse doesn't hold water.
Yeah, and I've heard that it's putting us at a significant disadvantage when so many of our right next door neighbors are significantly cheaper. Let me just ask you this in the minute I have here to wrap up, Dan, on the cost of gas right now. I have a listener saying, listen, I was told winter gas is coming in, it's going to be cheaper, but they're struggling to find it below $1.50 a liter. What's happening right now? What's the forecast here for the cost of gas in the next little while?
Winter gas came in on September 15th, so you already had that 8 or 9 cent drop. If you were summer gas, you'd be 10 cents a liter above what you are today. Understand that gas stations are shaving their margins. They're making no money selling gasoline. They're making money selling pop, chips, and coffee in their stores, but there's no other way of making money selling gasoline or diesel. When you have an obstinate tax that represents 20 to 40 cents more than any other jurisdiction around us, that's the person you have to look at. And folks, you've got the power. Vote them out, because this is going to damage the Quebec economy, and it's going to hurt consumers at a time, I don't care what, by any metric or any measure or any partisan background, affordability is the number one issue in this country, bar none, coast to coast.
Well, we're getting closer to that election, about 10 months or so away from a provincial election in this province. Dan, got to leave it there. Thanks so much.
Good to be here. Thanks, Elias.
Dan McTeague, president at Canadians for Affordable Energy. When we return, we're going to kick off our week looking back at 80 years of CJAD. Rob Braid, former general manager of this station, will join us, and we'll take a look back at the Great Flood of 1987.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years. And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.